Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Non-Scripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson. Thank you so much for joining me once again, and today I'm here to discuss the final episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're already here, it's the end, it's over, it's done. At least season 1 of the show has been done, but there are interesting developments which I will go into, I think, at the end of the show. But yeah, this episode was called One World, One People. Very appropriately titled. As I always say about these episode titles, they always have very good meanings behind them. And yeah, this episode was not entirely what I was expecting from the finale, but it was structured like exactly the same as the WandaVision finale, just in terms of going straight into the action and then having the cool down period at the end where, you know, we set up threads for the coming movies or TV shows. We set up certain characters for what they're going to be doing, and we, you know, certain storylines come to a close and all this stuff. So it was modeled exactly the same. And, you know, I mean, it's fine. I'm happy with the ending. Like, I enjoyed it. I just feel there was some parts that were maybe rushed. Like, I really would have liked maybe 5 minutes or a couple of minutes or a scene or something added at the beginning to really, I don't know, just prepare us for what was about to happen, because the fact that we went straight into it was, it just felt too fast for me. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Comment below if you do, or if you think I'm being silly about it. I mean, it was still fine, because look, if this had been a movie, you know, last week would have like flowed seamlessly into it. So I feel like this is going to be a really good show to rewatch, like binge rewatch. It's going to just yeah, because like if it was a movie, you would have that slowness before the final fight, and it would just go straight in. Like you wouldn't need to reintroduce anything or re-establish anything, because you're just there and you're in it. So I suppose flowing on from last week with our ending scene with Sam, you know, opening the case from the Wakandans, like that makes sense. That, you know, we'd go from there, and we're here with this. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just seemed very, I don't know what the right word is. It just, yeah, I just would have liked, like, because like Bucky was in New York, Sharon was there, like it was all just like everyone just kind of conveniently converged for this epic fight. And I don't know, I feel like we needed maybe something else to help us get there, but maybe I'm just nitpicking. Regardless, like the whole first half of the episode, the majority of the episode, the fighting was so good. And may I just say, Captain America looks fantastic. That was really great to see him in the suit. Like I knew it would be a Captain America suit. I was curious as to whether or not he'd still have the wings, but of course, Sam Wilson, Captain America, does have the wings still in the comics, and this was an outfit that was exactly out of the comics. And it looked so good on him. Anthony Mackie wears it well. Sam Wilson wears it well. It was just a joy. Like, I cheered when he flew in through the window and landed, and he's got the shield, and yeah, it was great. Like, Sam in this episode was just, from top to bottom, the best thing about it. This finale, like him fully being realized as Captain America, was something that he earned over the course of this show, had to earn, like feel like he himself had earned that, was worthy of that, what Steve had, you know, bestowed upon him, and it just came together really, really nicely, really perfectly, I think. Yeah, and the fact that he, you know, he called, like, he... like, what some random agent guy was like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Captain America." And I was like, "Damn straight you are." And then the guy was like, "I thought Captain America was on the moon." So that was a nice, funny little callback to earlier in the series. But yeah, it was so good to see Sam as, yeah, it was just amazing. So if I'm getting this happy and overjoyed about it, then there are going to be so many people in the world that are so happy to see him wearing the stars and stripes, carrying the shield, and flying proudly. The mantle, the title that is Captain America. Yeah, he was awesome. This entire episode, I loved. It was so good to see Red Wing back. Like the new improved like Captain America version of Red Wing that also can split off into two little bitty things. It can like, yeah, I love the scene in the helicopter when he's chasing after the hostages, and yeah, he's like, let's see if any of these people inside can fly, and then he's able to figure out that one of the GRC people actually has helicopter training, and I really enjoyed the line of. A little birdie told me you can fly a helicopter. Like I thought that was nice. Yeah. God, I just really loved everything about Sam as Captain America. And to skip ahead a bit, I guess I may as well just talk about his epic speech that he gives at the conclusion of the fighting. And I loved that shot of him like slowly descending upon the crowd, holding Carly's body, and the wings are spread wide, and it looked like it was out of a comic book. Like it really looked like it was pulled straight from a page. It's just, yeah, it was gorgeous. And it's very, very powerful as well, because that it begs the question of whether people are going to think Carly's a martyr, and they're totally going to make her one. That's for sure, because, as Sam said, like so many people were willing to follow her, to stand up to you, to the government and all of that stuff. So and she was adamant her cause would live on without them all being there anyway. So that's clearly going to, happen. I don't know if the Flag Smashers will be mentioned again going forward. Who knows? There may be some kind of, resurgence of them in the future, but this may also be the end. But Carly's death definitely does make her a martyr, that's for sure. But Sam just actually telling the GRC, telling the senators, just putting them in their place, was so good, so well done, and it was the best way for Carly's message to get to them. Like a peaceful way, a logical way, a diplomatic way, if you will. Like I really love too that. I'm surprised, but the politicians in the show just surprise me and don't surprise me. But they surprised me in the fact that I was expecting them to be like, one, why are you, masquerading around as Captain America? We've not given you permission to do this. Why do you have the shield? They didn't say anything about that, which I thought was a bit strange. But I'm kind of glad they recognized the situation and let Sam say his piece, because I'm sure they were probably just like so maybe intimidated by the fact that he was fully kitted up as Cap. He's got the shield and everything, and they know that Steve Rogers chose him, so I don't know, maybe that's why they didn't say anything. But yeah, I loved Sam's point of we finally have a common struggle, which is the biggest thing to take away from, one of the biggest things, I guess, to take away from the blip, take away from the show, is the fact that 5 years without everyone, and then everyone coming back, like, we're all dealing with the same problems, regardless of class or race or anything. Like, that problem is ours. One world, one people, right? So we all have to come together and figure this out together, because we're in this together. Like, we're all dealing with the same shit. And I loved the way that Sam explained that, and talking to the GRC and saying, you people have just as much power as an insane god or a misguided teenager. Like, that was great. Like, I love the kind of the references to Thanos in this, and just what he did to their world, and how they're still dealing with it, but comparing him to Carly as well, and to the GRC, like, because he's like, well, you've got to stop calling them terrorists. They're not terrorists. You've got peacekeepers moving in on them. What do you think they're going to call you? Like, I loved the way he summarized it, and he threw it back at them. It was so good. And the, one senator dude that remains nameless, but just is everywhere for some reason, was just like, you don't understand, like, you cannot possibly understand how complicated this is. And then I love the fact that Sam was like, I'm a black man carrying the Stars and Stripes, what don't I understand? Like he just put it to them straight up, and I really adored that entire speech. And then it was so good to see the fact that it was being broadcast to certain people, and the fact that Isaiah and his grandson watched. Like, you see the look on his face, how it went from kind of, concern to understanding. Like, I think he gets where Sam is coming from now, which is really important. Like, he still has his own issues and his own struggle in terms of his relationship with what Captain America means, and what a black man to be Captain America means. But he can clearly, as we discover later in the episode when Sam goes to visit, like, you can just clearly understand that he's like, well, okay, if this is your journey and this is what you want to do, it's not going to be easy, but like you can tell that he's proud of him, that he's made that decision to be Cap, I think. So I don't know. So I really loved Sam Wilson, Captain America. I'm here for it. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Bucky was good in this episode as well. Probably not as obviously forefront focus as he has been, but that's fine because this episode kind of had to cram a lot in. There were some characters that were left on the wayside a bit in terms of their story. Like Carly was good, but could have been better. John Walker especially, I think, got the short end of the stick in this episode. We didn't really get much time to develop or conclude his story, I think, completely satisfactory. Like, it was still good, and yeah, he's going to be US agent now. I love that I said I'm going to talk about Bucky, and now I'm talking about John Walker. Oh well, it's fine. Non-scripted ramblings, guys. That's what you get on this channel. But yeah. Like, John Walker, just, I feel like, him rocking up and going for Carly made sense. We knew that's what was going to happen. But then it took me a couple of, like, I've watched the episode twice now, and it took me a little bit to kind of go, okay, because he makes that choice between whether to go after Carly, because Carly is his main antagonist. He wants to avenge Lamar properly by taking her out. But then, there are these innocent people in this police truck about to go over the edge and die, right? So he makes the right choice in that moment. It just took me a bit to get to where he made that choice, because last week and the week before, him, as soon as he had the serum, he became this different person, and this different, he thought he was doing what was right, even though it was wrong. And I love that him and Carly are the same in that way. They are both people that have been, have these causes, have these things that they believe in, but they've been corrupted by power. And like the fact that they've both taken the serum, and they just have pushed themselves too far into their beliefs that they've lost sight of it. But then John somehow, I guess, and I suppose you could connect it to last week when he saw Lamar's family, that he realizes that, that he shouldn't believe the lies he's telling anymore, and so you get a little bit of that. But I was surprised that he kind of, I don't know if it's quickly, but made the decision to, you saw him kind of go, okay, I know what I want to do, but I know what the right thing to do is, and I'm like, it was nice to see him make the right decision, but I just wasn't expecting it completely. But he kind of redeemed himself. Like, I actually, even from the moment he rocked up to attack Carly and screamed her name at her, like, I was actually kind of oddly already sympathizing with him. I don't know. Like, so I kind of felt sympathetic for John Walker this whole episode, which was so interesting that I didn't expect that, especially just going off in the last 2 weeks of him just being that. But yeah. But no, yeah, Carly was good, but the problem I have is the fact that she was so well thought out, well constructed, and so deep, and like again, I harken back to that conversation that she had with Sam, where, you know, they're talking about, you know, Sam's trying to talk her down from her cause, and like, you know, and understand what she means, and he's understanding her, and she's starting to understand Sam, you know, and it all makes perfect sense, and it's all so deep, and it's so great to see antagonists that are so complex and conflicted like that, you know, doing the right things for the wrong things for the right reasons, I should say. And that was awesome. And then, but in this episode, like, and I know we've seen it all the way along, Carly has been, you know, she's been fighting for what she believes in, but she's been using the wrong methods to do so, and it just keeps getting worse as it goes along. And I just feel that in this episode, I just hate the fact that they pushed her to that point where she'd crossed that line into villainy, into terrorism. You know, Sam's like, don't call them terrorists. They're not terrorists. But Carly, I think kind of became that by the end. And even her compatriots were like, what are you doing? Because, you know, they don't want to die for the cause. They don't want to do all this. This is not what they signed up for, clearly. And they're questioning her without even asking any questions. They're just staring at her, and she's like, one world, and they're not completing the line. And she gets annoyed, and then they all say it, and they're like, well, guess we're going to die. But yeah, it's just interesting that I didn't expect Carly and John Walker to end up where they ended up. I expected it to be reversed because, as I said, like, I feel like their stories are similar, they're parallel to each other because they're both fighting for what they believe in. They've both been corrupted by the serum, and but, you know, in this episode, they truly diverge into two spots where Carly goes further across the line, and John, you know, stands back and, like, you know, watches the line run away, you know. So, but I expected it to switch. I expected John Walker to keep going on this trajectory of badness, and for Carly to stop and realize, but I don't know. I can see why they didn't do that and why they made those choices, but I don't know. I feel like there could have been some better complexity there to the conclusion of their character arcs in this show, because it was moving in such a cool way. I feel like they kind of maybe played it safe, maybe, I don't know, but I'm really glad John Walker is still going to be around, and we're getting US Agent now, so which I guess I will call foul on my statements of, you know, he can't be US Agent because he's not going to be supported by the government, but I guess Val is involved with the government in some capacity for that ability to, you know, I guess, I don't know, like, I don't know, maybe he's working covertly with the American government so he can be called US Agent. And I suppose that makes sense because his suit is black, right? And when Steve Rogers has his, you know, covert or stealth suits, they're like really dark blue or black, you know. So that kind of makes sense. And it was nice to kind of, like, I felt happy for him at the end when he was cheering. Like, I felt happy that he was, you know, he's US Agent. He's still wanted. He's still needed. He is still able to fight for what he believes in. And so, but yeah, it'll be so curious to see where his allegiances lie going forward, and what that will entail. It's gonna be crazy. What else can I talk? I mean, yeah, I did start talking about Bucky, but I didn't really. It was really good to see him. Just, I love that scene where, you know, he's doing the hero thing, and you're thinking about how plagued by the Winter Soldier he is still, and the fact that you know, outside of Infinity War and Endgame, you haven't really seen him fight for the good guys proper, and people on the streets haven't seen Bucky fight for them. So to have Bucky in New York saving people's lives in the open and people witnessing that is so powerful and so important. And I loved the moment. It's just such a simple moment, but to him it's everything. When he saves the hostages from that van that's on fire, and they come out and this one guy says, "Thank you for saving us." And then Bucky he takes a beat and then he says, "You're welcome." Like, you can see what that means to him. I thought that was awesome and such an important pivotal moment for his character, to acknowledge the fact that he's not the Winter Soldier anymore. He's Bucky. He's the White Wolf. He's a good person. He's not this brainwashed agent for Hydra anymore. And he can actually do some good with what he's got. Like, yeah, it's just awesome. And then the fact that he, as we knew it was going to happen, he went to see the man of the father of the son that he killed in that flashback we saw in, I think, episode 1 it was. Yeah. And he finally told him the truth. And yeah, I mean, at first watch, I was like, I kind of wanted that scene to go on a bit longer and get more of a reaction out of the father, but in hindsight, it's kind of, I think it's about, well, I guess it's about Bucky and the fact that he did it, and the fact that he's made amends, and the fact that he's getting his closure. Like, when he walks past the restaurant and sees him and the waitress, in there, and he kind of just, he doesn't go in or anything, and she sees him, and she doesn't seem to be offended by his presence. Like, she smiles a little, and lets, but the point is that he's made these amends, and it's worked out okay, because now he can, finish his grieving process and move on with his life. He'll never forget his son, and he'll never truly stop mourning the loss of him, but at least now he has the closure of, he knows how he died and why he died. So it was really, really good to see. What else can I say? I'm just looking at all my notes. All right, well, let's talk about, I guess I'll briefly talk about Zemo. Okay, I'm going to do Zemo, and then I'm going to do Isaiah, and then I'm going to do Sharon, and then I'm going to conclude. Non-scripted my ass. Scripted on the fly. Zemo got the last laugh against the Flag Smashers in this episode. His butler ended up killing the remaining Flag Smashers that were about to be transported to the raft. So that was pretty good, because at first glance I was like, wait, what just happened? And then on the rewatch, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense, because Zemo wanted them gone because they're super soldiers and they represent everything that he hates. And like, the whole reason that he got involved in the first place was because he wanted them to not be super soldiers, to stop the production of the serum and all of that. So he accomplished his mission, and didn't really have to lift a finger in the end. So that was really good. I guess we'll be seeing more of Zemo down the line. I don't know. Hopefully, because I didn't expect Zemo to be used in the way he was used in the show. I was expecting a bit more from Zemo. Like, I'm glad we got what we got, and he was great and entertaining, and Daniel Bruhl is awesome as always. But I don't know, I was expecting a little bit more villainy from Zemo, a little bit more grandstanding, a little bit more, I don't know. I thought going in he was going to be the main focus, but then obviously the Flag Smashers were the main antagonists of this show. And look, it's fine. It's totally fine. I'm okay with it. Hopefully it's just not the end of Zemo. So, but yes, the big moment of this episode was just the conclusion of this, I guess, this story with Isaiah Bradley and with Sam actually proving to him that change is possible, and people can remember you, and people should remember you, and you don't have to hide anymore, and all this stuff. And I loved the fact that Sam was able to get this whole exhibit as part of the Captain America exhibit in the Smithsonian, this whole section just focusing on Isaiah and those super soldiers and what they did, and telling their story, and and that way no one will ever forget what he did for his country. And that's what Sam says to him, and it was so powerful. I cried when I watched it the first time. I was like, this is beautiful, this is powerful, this is amazing. And in a world where people are tearing down statues of supremacists, of racists, of terrible people who have done terrible things, to see a statue raised up of a black man who did nothing but fight for his country and fight for what he believed in, and to have that recognition now is just, it was just so good and so powerful. Like I said, I cannot fully appreciate what that means to so many people, but I feel it. Like I feel the power and the importance that has, and how good of a step that is in the right direction. And it's just so important that it's happening, and that this show, again, I said it last week, I think the fact that this show is being used to tell this kind of story, to uplift these people, it's just wonderful, and it's so important. And yeah, change is going to take a long time, and it's been taking hundreds of years, but we're getting in the right direction now. And in the world of the MCU, the fact that we now have a black man as Captain America, and Isaiah Bradley is getting the recognition he deserves. Like, he's never going to be forgotten now. Everything, all that suffering and all that pain he went through now stands for something, and people will know about it and learn from it. It's so important and so wonderful. So, and it was just, to see his reaction as well was just so powerful. And Carl Lumbly, like, hats off to you. You were just beautiful, phenomenal in this role. Knocked it out of the park. Just insanely well done. And insanely well written, this entire thing. So, and I think before I'll wrap up, I think all I have left to say is the Sharon Carter thing. I'm a bit annoyed about the Sharon Carter thing, only because, and it's the same with Zemo, like, I expected different things from the characters going into this, like, just from what we knew about the characters before the show started. Like, I felt they were going to go in different directions, so part of me thinks maybe that expectation ruined my experience of what their characters did in this show, maybe. But then at the same time, I say that, and then I also say I don't agree with making Sharon Carter a villain, because Peggy Carter is one of my favorite MCU characters, and I love the fact that she's always stood for what's right, and she's always, she's such a strong character, and such an important character, and a landmark character in terms of being a woman and being in the MCU, and being a co-founder of S.H.I.E.L.D. It means so much. And to have the only living relative that we know so far of Sharon Carter, Steve's gone, of Sharon Carter, of Peggy Carter, but to have someone who represents supposed to represent a modern version of Peggy Carter, being this, villain now, is just, I don't agree with it. I get, look, it's good storytelling. Like, you don't expect that. You don't expect someone like Sharon, who, is related to Peggy, to be the antithesis of what Peggy was, but so I get the choices made, and I get why she's kind of turned, because it's been 5 years of hell, and she was discarded by her country, and for not even doing anything too serious, whereas Bucky gets a pardon and all this stuff. But what did Carly said? Where I wrote it down. Yeah, she's like, you want to rule the world that hurts you, and like how Carly's like, I'm not about power, or I don't want any power, I don't want any control, like I want to change the world. It's like, you want to rule it, I want to change it. You know, so Sharon's been hurt, and that's why she's become the power broker, and she's, you know, she's turned down this dark path. So I don't know, it's going to take me a while to kind of process that, the fact that she's a bad guy, especially because I feel like the post-credit scene was too long. They shouldn't have had that ending bit where she's outside of the, you know, the big building, whatever it is. Forgive me for not knowing what building that was, but she's outside and she's on the phone talking about how, oh, I'm the power broker and I've got my foot in the door and we're going to have access to this, this and this. And like, that was too much. It was too heavy-handed. Didn't need it. Don't know why he did it. They literally should have just ended it with Sharon slow-mo walking out with that little smirk on her face. Like, that's all you needed. Also, I mean, that's cliche as well, obviously. But to them, that end scene just felt tacked on. Like, we didn't need... Like, we get it, guys. She's back. They're giving her a pardon. She's going to have her old job back in the government, in the CIA. I think she was working in the CIA in Civil War, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it was too much. They could have done a better job, I think, with Sharon in the show. But especially because the fact that she was turned out to be the power broker was like the worst kept secret of this whole thing. Like, we've been saying she's actually the power broker probably since Madripoor. Like, since she first rocked up in episode 3, episode 2, episode 3, like, yeah, like, it was, I don't know, I think they could have just done her a bit better, but that's me. I guess I'll get over it, we'll see. Let me know your thoughts, guys, comment below, like, if you agree with me on any of this, what did you think of the episode? Like, is the choice to make Sharon Carter a villain a good one or a bad one? Like, yeah, I don't know. Or, you know, just tell me how much you love Sam Wilson in this episode, because damn, Sam, I am so happy. Like, yeah, bringing it back, ending it on a good note. Sam Wilson is Captain America, and Steve Rogers would be so proud. Like, it's just, and that line where Sam says in his speech, the only power I have is that I believe we can do better. And if that don't sum up Sam Wilson, Captain America, apart from the fact that he says he's a black man carrying shield, carrying stars and stripes, you know, it's just perfect. Like, that one line to me says why Steve chose him to be Cap. And the fact that Bucky called him Cap, I love that too. Like, nice job, Cap. Like, oh my God, getting emotional. All of the feels. All of the feels. All right, I think that might do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching my run of reviews on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or as it is now known, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, because, yeah, we don't have a Falcon anymore. We've got a Cap, which is wonderful. And we're getting a Captain America 4, so hell yeah. Whether or not we'll get a Falcon Winter Soldier Season 2 remains to be seen. Hopefully, I think we still will. So I'm so curious to see where these storylines are all going to go now, but we're getting a Captain America 4 with Sam Wilson leading his own big screen blockbuster. Anthony Mackie, man, just, you deserve it. I'm so proud. You're a fantastic actor. Yeah, and this is just so important and so wonderful and powerful, and yeah, it's great. It's awesome. So I'm super excited to see where the new Captain America, where his storyline will go from here. So, but yes, and I'll have thoughts on that when that happens in however many years from now, hopefully sooner rather than later. But yes, again, thank you so much everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. So yeah, I will be back, of course, with more reactions and reviews as Marvel brings them to me to do. And Loki is going to be dropping on Disney Plus in just over a month, 6.5, 7 weeks from now. So that's very exciting. Okay, yeah, I don't have anything else. I'm gonna just think about Sam Wilson in that suit for a long time because he looks so good. It's so great. I'm so happy. He deserves it. Okay, thank you. Until next time, I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted ramblings.